I'm a big systems and process guy because I feel like no matter what, at the end of the day, if you don't have systems and processes that create that system, things just don't get done. We want to have a level of accountability and go about it in a way where it doesn't feel like people are being micromanaged, making sure that there's systems and processes in place and there's people in place to manage it. Welcome back to another episode of the Mission Control Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stearns with Ascend Digital Agency. This episode is proudly brought to you by Roofr. So we got a special episode. This is going to be a monologue Mike edition where it's just you and I, we're sitting here and we're having a conversation about some of the things that I see with clients that I work with. So for instance, I had a client approach me today. This client, they've been with us for some time. They tend to lean on us for advice in the sense that we've worked with hundreds of roofing companies from, pre-revenue all the way up to companies doing 20 million, everything in between. And we ride shotgun, so to speak. So we have a big part and a very intimate aspect of a relationship, not just your ordinary roofing company, digital marketing company relationship. So they lean on us for insights and kind of just to be a second set of ears to run things by. That's not to say that we know everything, but it seems to be a trend that clients do rely on us, and we've been told that we give good advice, and we're happy to fulfill that role. We feel like that's what makes us a bit different than most marketing companies. So I had a client today, and they were having an issue, and one of the things that we were talking about was really like the social snowball effect. So getting your reps to mobilize their past customers, sales reps, to mobilize their past customers, their current customers, and their future customers to hop into Facebook groups and really be brand ambassadors for your company. So for instance, we want to let them know how important it is to our company that those individuals, if they have a great experience, talk about that in local Facebook community groups. Because there's people in these groups all the time that are asking, hey, I need a roof done. Hey, I need a roof repair. Who's the best roofing company? And people rely on their friends, families, neighbors to help make these decisions for them. So if you can consistently have people that you've done work for in your past going into these groups and answering on your behalf to say, hey, you know what? I know a company. It's ABC Roofing. It's ABC Roofing. It's ABC Roofing. People see that and maybe they engage with it. Maybe they don't. But I promise you that over time, that impact will compound and more people, if you go about it in a systematic way, will go and tag you, and it will only build your credibility in your local community. I made an entire video about it. You can click here where you can learn more about it. So with that being said, we were talking about some of the issues that they were running into. So, and I look at it and looking at it objectively, one of two things were going on or were at play. Either the team was going about executing in a half-hearted way, or they just simply weren't doing it. And usually it's the case that they're just not doing it. They're not doing the activities. I'm a big systems and process guy because I feel like no matter what, at the end of the day, if you don't have systems and processes that create that system, things just don't get done. So if you have bulletproof systems and processed outline, it can still go sideways because in essence, it's your responsibility to manage your team, right? It was very interesting because, when the client was sitting there explaining the issue of, hey, I don't feel like we're getting the traction in the Facebook groups. I don't feel like we're getting a lot of opportunities or nearly as many as we should. And it's really slow right now. Side note, this is when it becomes most impactful to have that scalable ecosystem of leads coming in from these local community groups. You'll really see the impact of it when things are slow. When everyone's super, super busy, nobody could care less, right? They couldn't care less about if these Facebook leads are coming in. But when things are super slow, your cost per lead is high, there's less demand. Getting leads from Facebook and these community groups especially it's a fantastic thing. So we're sitting there having the conversation, and what I said was, they need a leader, which sounds simple enough, but it comes back to managing the team and certain responsibilities that your team has. Right? So this falls under like the self-gen side of the sales position, but it can really apply to most positions in your company, right? But especially sales, because that's what we're talking about today. if those individuals had the ability or the will, right? It might be an ability thing, it might be the desire, but if they had both those things, they would probably own their own company, right? They need a leader, right, to keep them on task. You need to have structured meetings, even if you have those systems and processes in place, to say, to meet with your team and say, hey, let's take a look at this. How has this been working out? Let's take a tally. Who's got the most leads this week from referrals, right? And that doesn't necessarily have to be just social media, but we want to have a level of accountability and go about it in a way where it doesn't feel like people are being micromanaged, because if people feel like they're being micromanaged, it can be not great from the employee perspective. I've been in positions where myself and other team members have really felt like we're being managed very closely and overmanaged, quite frankly. And it doesn't create positive emotions and dialogue within the team. It can be disruptive. So the idea is that you can create this ecosystem to where there's that level of accountability. You're showing that you care and that you take an interest, and you're trying to celebrate some of the successes and also optimize what you're doing now and maybe make that system, that process, and the results better, right? Because especially with salespeople, the better the results are for them when we're talking about generating leads, the more opportunities they have, hopefully the more closes they'll have and the more money that they're going to make. And I've been around a lot of salespeople throughout my life, and I haven't met one that doesn't like making more money. But you have to be able to show them the path to making more money. So I guess that's what I wanted to talk about today, was really just being a leader, right? Taking accountability as the owner of the company and making sure that every team within your company, whether it's just one other person other than yourself, or if you've got 40 employees and you've got 4 different teams, making sure that there's systems and processes in place and there's people in place to manage it, whether it's you, whether it's a general manager, whatever that looks like. And it's fluid. It'll change from company to company to company based on, the size of the company and I guess their belief systems around how they want their company managed. But I see it all the time where there's not enough emphasis placed on the management of the employees. It can be in that training and development. It could go for lead gen, for sales. But I see it all too often to where, we start talking about, okay, well, why wasn't this phone call answered? We're speaking about an admin. This admin didn't answer the phone call. Well, why not? She was busy. Okay, well, why didn't she answer this phone call? Well, she was busy. Okay, so then why don't we have an overflow in place to where, after it rings 3 times, if the admin can't answer it, it gets forwarded over to a call answering service, right? There has to be someone overlooking these or looking at these things in order for that to come to fruition and for that conversation to take place and for meaningful change to be put in place. Otherwise, it just keeps happening. You keep losing opportunities. And then the admin, what's happening is if she's on the phone call giving a customer the service that they deserve with your company, she shouldn't have to feel pressured. He or she should not have to feel pressured to say, I got to, hold on a second and interrupt that customer's experience, because she feels pressured to answer the other phone call for the customer that's calling in. If we have an overflow in place to where, hey, after 3 rings, it's going to forward to an answering service, or it's going to forward to the next person in line, is going to forward to the owner's cell phone. Whatever the case is, there's a redundancy in place to make sure that all your customers are getting a live contact, because I'm telling you right now, I literally just got off a call with a client less than an hour ago to where, we were talking about appointment setting rates, right? Like getting leads are great, but how many of those are converting into actual sales opportunities? How many appointments are set based off those leads? And the last 2 weeks has been atrocious. It's been like 20%. So, we're trying to be proactive and trying to figure out like, okay, so how can we get back to where we're booking 70, 80% of leads? And one of the biggest things that the admin said when we were having the conversation, she was asked, what is the biggest impediment as far as getting these leads to book? Like, where is it a lead source? What are you seeing? And what she said was like, hey, it's the fact that if we have a 2 or 3 day weekend, we don't get those opportunities back. So we dug into that because that makes sense, right? If somebody calls you for a roof Friday night or Saturday afternoon and no one's answering, they're probably calling somebody else and they probably have a live contact and they probably know that their needs are met. Like, hey, I've got 2 or 3 people already coming out. By the time you call back Monday, you're out of luck. You're not going to get that opportunity. So as it turned out, they had an answering service in place, and those calls were actually being answered. So it was showing up as a missed call for the admin. It was being bounced over to the admin because it was after 5 o'clock and it was a weekend, which that's what's supposed to happen for this particular company. And the answering service was picking up the call, and they were booking it via a Calendly link. Here's where the breakdown took place. So the Calendly link was synced up to Job Progress as an integration via Zapier. One of the Zaps was broken. So although they were appearing to be scheduled from the answering service side, they were never making it to the schedule in Job Progress that then deploys out to the sales reps to make sure that they're getting in front of those customers. So as it turns out, it wasn't necessarily it wasn't technically something to where the customers weren't booking because they were booking, but there was a technical breakdown within the system that gets it to the point where the sales rep goes and sees that customer. Luckily, we caught it really soon. But that's where managing your business, your team, and everything within it comes into place so that you can catch those things as they happen. If that went on for a month or 2 months, you would lose so many opportunities, so much revenue that you would never get the opportunity to get back, all because of a simple broken Zapier connection, right? Sounds preposterous, but that could have a massive impact on what you do in revenue this year. So again, we'll sum this up by saying you want to make sure that you've got eyes on different aspects of your business. You've got the right people in the right seats to make sure that things are running as smoothly as possible. And again, create the systems, create the processes, have the people to execute those processes, and have the people to manage the folks that are executing those processes. Drop a comment below. Interested to see the feedback on this one. I appreciate you guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll talk again soon.